guys, how's it going? I'm working on a bunch of stuff again outside today. I actually have a ton of things to plant, so I'm hoping to barrel through a lot of it. I actually started this video yesterday with this project right here. Do you hear her? Do you see that the Hebe fountain is finally running? I was trying to document the process and show you guys how to set her up, and it was a complete fail. First of all, we bought this fountain 2 years ago, set it up, and still hadn't, you know, got it running yet. So I had a really hard time finding the bag of parts with the pump and all the tubing and all of that stuff. So it took me forever. I scoured the barn, couldn't find it, ended up finding it in a coat closet inside, like a good place for fountain parts, right? And then when I got it all out here, I didn't have the proper, like none of the parts were proper. Like the little rubber stopper that keeps the water from coming out wasn't the right size, so I had to home make one. Okay, and this is where we're gonna utilize this plug right here, because we want this pump to sit down in here. There we go. And now I'm just gonna push that whole thing down in the hole. That hole's too big. The hole's too big. So am I gonna have to use silicone? Also, I noticed that there's a hole right here, which is your drain hole, but they didn't send a plug to go into this.
Who makes this fountain?
I think Fiore Stone makes this fountain. I think that's where we ordered it from.
Calling you out, Fiore Stone.
Send me the right parts. Dang it. Alright, so I just made it back from the garden center. So this is the size of cork that came with the fountain that was too small. And I didn't really find exactly what I needed. I found this cork, which is a lot bigger, and it doesn't have a hole in it. So I'm going to attempt to make my own because we didn't have any with holes in it. Also, for the little drain hole, I found this little cork right here, and I know that this one's not going to last forever. I need to have my eye out for a rubber one. I probably need to go to a hardware store for that, so I'll have to replace that eventually. So what I think I'm going to do is clamp this to a piece of wood and just drill my hole, and then use maybe a, I don't know, maybe a jigsaw to cut my little slit. I don't know. Wish me luck. Alright guys, so I think I did it. I think that this is gonna work. So this is the original one right here. And then this is the one that I made. Essentially the same thing, not quite as like tidy looking, but that's okay. So this cork is gonna go right here. That'll help the water from not escaping that hole. And then let's try this again. I'm hoping that this one will fit. Look at that. I'm so proud of myself right now. I want to leave plenty of extra cord just in case. From what I can tell by feeling it, it feels like it's going in there really nice and perfect. You gotta be kidding me. That was really easy. God. So the reason I wanted to leave extra cord is so I could make sure to flip this pump right side up. And sometimes it can be tricky because these little spaces are really small, especially when you're dealing with cords coming out of the back of things. So, okay, I think the next step then is to attach my tubing. So I'll attach it to this and then just screw that into the top of the pump. All right, so now we can put the lady back on top. So let me set up the camera in the back here so you guys can watch. So if you just put her on the front. All up and running and nice. Let me turn the camera around so you guys can see her like fully, and then I'll show you some of the plants in this area. I really like the sound that she makes. So in this area I really need to do some work because I honestly haven't added very much since we moved in. There is a ton of Tradescantia or spiderwort in this garden, and it looks really pretty right now when it's blooming, but it doesn't bloom the whole season, and it's just kind of a grassy mess, like it kind of lays over. And so it's something that I might give to a friend or transplant somewhere else in the garden. There are, if you move this way, some gorgeous hostas. Love it. So I might actually work on filling in this side with more hostas, because if you remember, I planted Amsonias. Let me move over here. And I'm going to try to move the camera slower, you guys. There was a couple of you that had a hard time watching because I moved the camera so fast, and I don't blame you because I had a hard time watching our last couple of vlogs too. So this is all that's left of the 3 Amsonias that I planted. There was another one back here and a gopher came through and decimated that one. I thought this one wasn't gonna make it, but it has a little bit, and both of them have little blooms on them. They're trying their hardest. But when I planted these, I did not realize how much shade this spot actually gets. So they'll be much happier if I move them out into a sunnier spot. So that really opens up this area for more hostas and maybe some hellebores. I'm really excited about that. We've got some hardy geraniums in here, like intermixed with random daylilies that I've been trying to rogue out of this spot. You can see that they're just kind of popping up and through the geraniums. They just don't perform very well because, again, not enough sun in this area. But as a whole, let me back up. I think it's real pretty. Feels really good to get that project done. So now I'm heading up to the Versailles garden. That is where my first couple of planting projects are. I cannot believe that it's like almost June now and I still haven't done these projects. So this is the first one. These containers right here, which still have remnants of things from last fall. I had the obelisks, you know, the willow obelisks that I made in the video were in here. I removed those because I was getting ready to plant these earlier and just never got to it. But I've got a like honeysuckle. This is actually a perennial right here. Well, they all are kind of perennials technically, I guess. There's violas. They haven't been watered properly. So I'm just gonna clean this whole thing out and we're gonna start fresh. And the next spot is right around this urn. You can see that's where all the Cafe Noir tulips were. And I purposely leave the foliage up until I'm ready to plant my annuals. That way I know where I can dig holes and not ruin my bulbs. So let's run out to the greenhouse and grab some plants. Looks like I need to make a trip out to the dumpster first. I've got a bunch of junk in here. I'm finally getting rid of all the old crappy hoses that the previous owners left at our house, which worked really great for us for a little while because, you know, I just didn't have to drag out anything new. But oh, don't waste any time with crappy hoses, you guys. This is actually my favorite type of hose right here. I'll link it down below. This is a Gilmore medium duty hose. We've been carrying these at the garden center for ages. We don't use medium duty in the nursery, we use heavy duty. But I don't like them. They're too heavy. When they kink, it's really hard to get the kink out. Like you have to go physically find the kink and release it and then twist your hose all over the place. Medium duty ones are nice because even though you have to replace them more often, when you get a kink, you can usually like wiggle the hose or pull on it and the kink releases. And they're really lightweight and I really appreciate that in a hose, even if it means having to replace it more often. But they're a lot cheaper too. So you kind of look at it that way, like, well, I'll spend a lot less, have to replace it every 2 or 3 seasons or something like that, but then I don't have the headache of dealing with this massively heavy hose that I have to drag around my property. So anyway, that's my word on hoses. So while I'm up here, I'm actually gonna swap out some of the emitters in our front estate planters because I've got 1 gallon emitters in there right now and I don't think it's quite enough. I think they're looking okay because it's been fairly nice out. It hasn't been super hot yet, but I think once it gets really hot, they're gonna need the extra water. So I brought a bunch of 2 gallon emitters up here and I'm gonna swap them. I also need to give these pots a good cleaning. We have gravel coming for this area, so from the fence over to the stones here this week, I think, and it'll look really nice and it'll help keep these pots cleaner too. But the plants in here look really good, don't you think? I mean, they're nice and full and healthy looking, but again, like I look in here and I know they just ran and it's pretty dry. So here we go. All right, got that little chore done. So you can see I just cut off each little 1 gallon per hour emitter and then I popped those little red 2 gallon per hour on. Really easy to do. You can see that I'm left with a little bit of the polytubing left on the stem end, so I'll need to cut that off, so I'll do that a little bit later. When you're setting up your containers for drip, and I've said it before in videos, you always have to keep your eye on them just to make sure they're getting enough water or they're not getting too much, and I always say that you might need to adjust accordingly, and that's just what I had to do here because I know they're gonna need more once it gets hot. And it's really easy to do. It's just a matter of having the supplies with you, getting out and taking care of it. I mean, that took me 10 minutes maybe. This is a really pretty blend of plants. So I have Super Petunia bubblegum, of course. I've got Super Bina Royal Plum Wine. Look at these together. I think that's really pretty. I had planned on just using the bubblegum, so I think this is going to make it look even better. So there's my centerpiece plant, the little topiary. It is a blue chiffon Rosa Sharon. Beautiful light blue double bloom. Now you guys might remember I have tried Rosa Sharons in containers before like this. I did not have very much success because I paired the wrong things down below. I think that was my problem. I put a potato vine down below it, which those are water weenies. They need water all the time in the summer, especially when it's 100 plus, like they need it twice a day. And Rosa Sharons are really drought tolerant. They don't like to have a bunch of water, so I think that's where I went wrong, I hope. That's why we're not doing a formal video on this combination, because I want to try this out and make sure it works before I say it does. And then the things I'm going to put around the bottom are also, once they're established, they're fairly good on water requirements. They don't need a ton. Let me show you those. So we've got Super Petunia bubblegum and the Super Bina Royal Plum Wine. I think that these colors together look really pretty. The light pink and kind of that deep pink color. I think it's going to be a really pretty blend. So here they are all planted up. I think they're so pretty and everything looks so clean. I went ahead and hosed them down. I probably need to wipe them down though too with something. Hose down the bricks and a little bit of the sidewalk, but I think that that color blend is going to be super pretty. So I used 4 Super Bina, 1 in each corner, and then I used 4 Super Petunia bubblegum. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Which it's going to be interesting to see how these two grow together, because Super Petunia bubblegum is probably the most vigorous annual I've ever grown. So I'm really hoping that this one will compete, or I might have to be out here and help this one along, because I really like seeing some of that dark color. But I love the way the topiaries look. So pretty. You get a close-up on this one. I really hope this experiment works this year, you guys. Isn't that nice? So there's all my stuff, all my tools. So I went ahead and cut back all the rest of those Super Petunias that I had up here because they were really, really leggy. I did save the honeysuckle shrubs here, so I'll find a place to put those. Other than that, it's time to go get the plants for this project. So I just put the annuals in between the tulip foliage so I know where I can and can't dig. And then as I go, I cut the tulip foliage back. I'm also cutting these Super Binas back because if you take a look at them, they're pretty darn leggy. And I want them to bush out a little bit more and be a little bit more full. So I'm cutting them back just a little bit. You can see these right here, just to give them a little bit more energy to produce a nicer looking plant at the base. So I have my work cut out for me here. So there it is, all done, except for mulch. This is pre-mulch. I will throw a little bit in there just to make it look nice and tidy until those annuals fill in. And the annuals will grow really fast. I know they look kind of sad after you cut them back a little bit, but they'll be much happier and much fuller. And these right here are denim and lace Russian sage. We've got sprinter boxwoods all the way around the outside that I would like to have them form a hedge eventually. I might make them into balls though, like little spheres. I kind of thought about that this spring. I just haven't got around to it yet. That might look cool until they are hedge material anyway. But if you guys remember, they were probably a quarter this size when I planted them. They were really small and they've grown really, really well. I also brought up some of these. These are Infinity Lavender Impatiens. And I'm going to be putting these around the arborvitaes in those pots that wintered over. I just need a little pop of color up there. I really like the simplicity of this one, you guys. And those arborvitaes are actually gold arborvitaes, and they would be more of that color if they were out in more sun. But they've been really happy up here. They only get like an hour of sun in the morning and that's it since last spring, and they look this good still. So I'm just gonna leave them be for a while. And then these lavender impatiens will just kind of bush out and provide some season-long color, which will be really nice up here. And then you might notice we added a couple of really neat benches. So there's one on that side, one on that side to kind of flank this area. See if I can get a backed up shot without showing, well, you could probably see me in the door, but there. You can kind of see. Those are from Plow and Hearth. We'll put a link down below. These are a little bit smaller than the one we have next to the lemon coral filled urns in our entry garden. We love them, and we have been using the heck out of them up here actually. So those were a couple of the bigger projects I wanted to get done today, but I think I have time to go plant a couple other things. I've got a hydrangea that's actually going to come up and go somewhere right in here, and then I've got some delphiniums which I might put, ooh, if I can get my finger to point the right direction. There, they'll go right in there. I don't know what my problem is with the camera and not being able to point right. So never mind on the hydrangea. It's supposed to get windy again today, and it's a nice big tall plant, and I don't want anything to happen to it. So I do think I'm going to grab the delphiniums though still and get them planted, because the area is pretty protected where I'm going to put those, and it's about time to cut them back for the first time in the season anyway. So let me show them to you. So see, one of them already fell over. Oh, and it was so tall, like this gloriously tall delphinium. Look at that. I've got them all sitting on a table right now. But I've got a few pagan purples, and let's see, how many do I have of those? I think I have 3 of those, and then I've got 5 Delphinium New Millennium Green Twist, which this is how they age out. They were like this beautiful chartreusey white color, and then they age to a pure white. I really, really like them. And can you guys hear the rain? It's hitting the plastic of the greenhouse. Sounds really pretty. So this is where they're going, right where we just planted these Gatsby Gal hydrangeas. I'm going to put the little grouping of 3 pagan purple delphiniums right here. I think they're going to be really pretty right there. Kind of a little nice bunch of color. And they get about 4 to 6 feet tall. That's why I bounced them over to the right. I was going to put them right back in here, but I think once this gets to maturity, you wouldn't be able to see them very well. So I think it's a really good position right here. And then if you move to the left, this is where I'm going to put the delphiniums. Kind of lonely over there in their little bunch. But I'm going to have a lot of fun filling this space in. So that's just one of the things I'm going to put in here. I think it's going to look really pretty to have them, you know, as you're entering, to have this big grouping of delphiniums right here. And you guys, we did contact somebody. They're going to come build a structure around the dumpster so we don't see it anymore. Won't that be nice? All done, they're all in the ground. And the fun thing about these delphiniums is that all of them were a birthday gift back in April actually, and I just didn't know exactly where I wanted to put them, so I hung on to them, and that's why they were kind of flopping over and not as strong as they normally are, because they just don't do as good in a greenhouse as they do being planted outside. So there's those 3. I need to lift these little stepping stones. Maybe I'll leave them, I don't know. Maybe it'll make it easier to move around back there unless I need to plant something where they're at. I don't know. And then here's this little grouping. So I do plan on bringing in another evergreen element. I know I'll have a lot. Like I'll have this hedge. This will be a hedge, you know, a nice, really tight hedge. I cannot wait to have that so I can get rid of all of these weird pavers. These were here, all of these pavers were, so we just utilized them. I mean, they weren't in this exact place. They were in a pile behind the barn. So we just utilized them because we knew in the end we didn't want anything but the boxwood to be the defining line. But this area is going to be really pretty. So yes, one more evergreen element right in here, I think. Probably something on the blue side. There's a huge blue spruce right there, and we've got a gold juniper that's really pretty right there. So I don't know, probably something blue though. I really like blue evergreen, so something ornamental decorative that kind of stays on the smaller side. So I think that's all of the planting I'm going to do today. I'm going to mulch the area around the urn, and then one other spot in the front yard that I'll show you, because there's spots that are already planted but they don't look as nice because they don't have a nice fresh layer of mulch. And then I have a ton of watering to do, even though it rained-ish, like it sprinkled for maybe 5 minutes. You know, we hardly ever get enough rain to merit being able to skip watering. which is a bummer. When we do, it's a glorious day, but that's okay. Watering's therapeutic, right? Oh yeah, that looks so much better. It's crazy what just a little bit of mulch will do for a space in the garden. Makes it look so tidy and nice. And I do think I forgot to mention that I am planning to add a couple more containers up here on the patio, like right on the ends of the benches. Hopefully I'm gonna do that. We'll see. So this is the other area that I need to mulch. I planted a bunch of coleus in this spot and I think it looks so pretty. It's gonna look even better when there's a layer of mulch down to cover the drip tubing. And our soil is really white here because it's so alkaline. So it's always nice to get something down that's darker colored. This whole area is going to be a work in progress. Well, our whole yard is. You know, I think all of us are kind of a work in progress in our gardens. This spring I ran a bunch of drip tubing in this area. Like, it kind of amazes me that I was able to even see the ground and maneuver around in this bed. It's crazy how fast things grow, but I was able to finally eradicate all the viola that was in this spot. You might remember I was having an issue with it. I had a hard time getting it out, but I think it's finally gone, so I can start planting some other things. That looks like 100 times better, don't you think? And I love that there's drip system under there, so I know everything's getting water. All I need to do is come deadhead, which for coleus is really quick. And I had enough mulch to make it around back to the fence and then do the front of the flower bed here. Not the back part though. Front, and then I filled in this space where all the violas were and got to right there, which is actually perfect, I think, because all of this back space I'm going to be planting in, and then I just need to figure out what I want to do here. It's kind of hard because I know eventually this thing's going to go, and it's not going to be near as shady up here, so I have to kind of plan with that in mind because we probably won't keep this very long. If I get close to it, you can see why. It's sad. And really, I could, you can see all the new growth coming in, I could just cut the main stuff out, like the big stuff, and then just let the old stuff, or I mean the new stuff, grow in and fill in this space. But I don't know what I want to do for sure. It is starting to rain, but real quick while we're up here, I wanted to show you the tree peonies I planted last year. There's one right here, really healthy. And I've been watching it. This hollyhock volunteered right here. And I didn't have the heart to take it out because like, look at the structure. Isn't that beautiful? So I'm gonna be watching it though. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and pop one of these leaves off. Maybe a couple. So we make sure that that peony gets enough air and light down in there. And then the second tree peony is right here. Doing really well. I'm pleased. You know, even if they don't bloom this year, the fact that they're growing back and they have healthy looking foliage is enough for me. So I think I'm gonna call it for today. It is starting to rain and I see some really dark clouds coming our way, so I think we might get a nice, hopefully get a nice rainstorm tonight so that I feel like everything got a little bit of extra water. But I'm gonna finish off the day watering in the greenhouse. I think that sounds really pleasant. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.